Sure. Thank you very much, Hank, for this question. Actually, it's very important to start shedding some lights on what's happening on the GCC level. Regulators or insurance regulators increasingly focusing on the implication or the implementation of AI and technology-based solution in the insurance sector, and more particularly in the regulatory and compliance frameworks. So the rules and regulation that has been designed thus far is mainly related to how insurers are using the technology in the insurance sector in terms of complying with corporate governance requirements, the market conduct standards, as well as to ensure that companies are not in breach of any trade and having a fair treatment of customer. Across the GCC, there has been a common approach, and if I will narrow this down to Bahrain, UAE, and Saudi, we will see that data protection law or local data protection law has been launched, especially after the launch of GDPR in Europe in 2018. Different countries has been started globally, not only in the GCC, to issue these local laws and regulations. In Bahrain, for example, the personal data protection law was issued in 2018. A comprehensive data protection law is in process for Saudi, and UAE has also taken the same approach. The second focus from regulators is cybersecurity, obviously. So we also noticed that lots of cybersecurity laws and regulations been issued by different regulators, and on a country level, the starting up the cybersecurity centers and cybersecurity authorities, been also something that we started to see. The third area is going to be the local regulatory sandbox. So regulators, especially in Bahrain and UAE, has been creating these local, I would call it safe havens for Insurtech companies and insurance companies in order to test those technology-based solutions for customer in a under the regulatory supervision, and to ensure that it is compliant before it's out there to the customers. The other line is the national digital strategies, and most of it are aligned with the economy 2030 economy vision that we have in Bahrain, Saudi, and UAE. And it is more of digitalization, the corporate, the government sector and the private sector, like opening of an account, buying an insurance policy. Everything is now done with the click of a button over your phone or online. Even the government is now moving toward the e-government portal. So you renew your passport, your ID, you pay your traffic ticket. Everything is done now online. In fact, some countries even took it a bit further. Like in Bahrain, we have the rules and regulations on insurance aggregator, where clients or customers can now access to the website and the portal and can shop for their insurance product and compare different products available in the market and choose the best out of it. Also recently, Bahrain enacted the AI standalone law, which is also imposing fines on the misuse of AI. There are other regulations in Saudi related to the AI ethical use, which need to be more of consumer-centric, focus on protecting clients and also providing the accuracy of information. So having said all that, many stakeholders feel that this is yet not enough. And the information or the rules and regulation issued, the regulatory authorities been established are still, the pace is slow, and the regulations are not deep enough in order to tackle the potential risks that AI is imposing on the financial sector as a whole and insurance sector in particular. So I believe we still have a long way to go. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
No. I think I want to pick up on Sahar's last point there. A lot of the required infrastructure, if I can call it that, around the rules governing IT, notably the data element, are there, and I think those are more than adequately understood and are in place. As Sahar said, the last point that is not there is currently under development, is specifically AI. Honestly, do we know enough? No, we don't. Because I don't think any of us know enough yet as to what this means, what the outcomes can be, and where the impacts can be. And that picks up on one of the other points, and that is regulators across the globe have put together sandboxes, or whatever they want to call them, to look at specific applications in financial services. So let's go and look at payment systems like we've done here, for example. But digital-only banks, Insurtech, tech-only insurers, those have been done. So I think the logical answer is we need to go exactly the same route with AI. And one of the ways we are approaching it is particularly to look at what you say, and that is how we can use it, what those results look like, what lessons we learn from actually developing our own application of AI, and not quite yet, but next, generative AI. So, like in everything I believe, in regulation, you need to be principles-based, first of all. You don't want to write a set of rules for every single thing. Honestly, probably not the best judge of this, but in my personal opinion, what the EU has done is excessive. I think it is stifling. It is, again, too voluminous for anybody to actually cope with half of what they've said. We need to take a industry-friendly, consumer protective approach. Well, that is where we need to go with that.
What would be the red line? Even if you don't understand, we understand the great opportunities, but what if as a regulator you don't have the tools to understand anything? What is the red line you don't want your Insurtech or your insurance company?
I think very simply, we cannot afford at this point, and I don't think industry can afford itself, to let technology go all the way. There still has to be the human factor. So I think letting technology take over the process, that is over the line.
I think that's a great example. So we'll go to the regulator in Morocco, and Salma, you are working for a regulator, but in a specific focus on innovation and Insurtech. So my question to you is, should we allow the sector, the Insurtech and the insurance sector, some self-regulation, so that we don't need the regulator, they regulate themselves? And what do you think the Insurtech sector needs? Because if you put it in a sandbox, it will slow down.
Thank you, Henk, for your question. So about self-regulation, when you are considering self-regulation, you need to also to consider that you need to bring a balance between bringing innovation to the market, but also assuring for consumer protection. So bringing self-regulation is good because it allows great journey experiences, bringing nice insurance journeys to consumers, and also serving underserved markets, making underserved population also access this insurance protection.
But at the same time, it requires a big oversight from the regulatory side and a lot of resources to manage this freedom we are giving to the sector. So lowering the entry barriers is a good thing, but at the same time, the regulator needs to have capacity to manage the freedom he gives to this market. And it's not always easy because resources, as you know, in the regulators, especially in our region, are resources are a little bit scarce. And we can also learn from the European experience, where self-regulation has been tested, but it has been tested more on capital requirements and governance through Solvency II, where we let insurance companies have some freedom in governing themselves and managing their risks, but we saw that this involved big resources from the regulatory side, the regulator side, to control all of those things and to make sure that it doesn't involve any risk for the consumer, etc. So maybe we need to have a hybrid approach between self-regulation and also trying to lower some barriers, but at the same time we need to be capable of managing this and following to make sure that those innovations are being done, but with the respecting protection of the consumer. So it's really.
I think protection of the consumer comes back in all these stories.
And about
Basically, what does so if you talk to the Insurtech sector, what do they want from you, and where do you clash?
Yeah. So it has been a year, and the Insurtech and Innovation Unit opened, and I'm really close to Moroccan Insurtech, and what I see, and we have to clarify one thing, is that finally, the barrier is not at all regulation. Of course, the regulatory framework is not perfect, but it's still enough. There's still enough. It's still enough to bring some innovations to the market. It's not perfect. Yeah, we can do it better, but it's not the barrier. Actually, the real barrier for Insurtech is the market readiness in the business environment, because Insurtech struggle to find local partners, and in particular, they struggle find insurance company that will work with them. Frequently, those companies they are slow in decision making. We usually have multi-party person that we are talking with, and so it slows down the decision making. They have their own processes, their own legacy system, and it's a little bit difficult to find nice partnerships. So this is the real barrier. The Insurtech is actually fine, because from the regulatory side, actually, an Insurtech that is just being third-party provider doesn't even need a license. An Insurtech that is that ambitions to be a broker can pass the exam, the national exam, and be a broker, or at least hire someone who has passed the exam. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more difficult for a company that wants to be a full stock Insurtech, but it's $5 million capital, so it's the regulatory part is not that difficult. The most difficult thing is the market readiness. So this is why in the Innovation and Insurtech unit in Morocco, we decided to launch a program toward the insurance companies. This program is aimed at coming up with use cases, innovative use cases with talents that are compliant with the regulation. But the main objective behind it actually is to make those insurance companies decide and position themselves on whether they want to outsource innovation or they want to internalize innovation. Because most of them think that they can beat Insurtech innovations, that those Insurtech that are coming up to them, they can copy their solution internally or even beat them because they have more resources. There is this belief that they can do it. So we want them to to understand from the benchmark and other experiences from Europe, like AXA, for example, that launched an application, My AXA, and they got it. It was like $1 million developing it, and 2 years after, they just said we closed because only some thousands of customers have used it. Internal innovation often is not a success because of multiple reasons. But we walked through this program to make them position themselves and say and find a way to decide whether they outsource or they internalize innovation. And if they outsource, making them know about the best practices to collaborate with Insurtech.